decided to do a live session for a little bit tonight. It's kind of spur of the moment, but why not? Just kind of setting things up here. A little bit of a crazy day we had. If any of you are in the northeast tri-state area, we got hit with some pretty intense rain. The smoke is pretty bad from the wildfires, and because of the rain, we got, or I got flooded in my garage shop. Not too bad, but you know, it's always an issue for us. You know, the water backs up, and I gotta drain the water and, you know, make sure all my tools and stuff and the wood that's on the floor didn't get too badly damaged. But luckily enough, there's no real significant damage. So, yeah, not too bad. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna work on today. I don't know if I'll finish a piece, but I kind of have a few options. I might just work on a gnome. I have this pumpkin that I've been working on. Yeah, I don't really know what else. I kind of want to work on these little gnomettes. But yeah, maybe if you guys have a suggestion, write it in the comments and I can work on one of those. I do have a bunch of unfinished pieces that I can finish up here. I have a little Sasquatch guy and a gnome. This weird looking tiki guy that I want to finish. And I also have this, where'd he go? This miniature bear. So, yeah. Also, I got this cool new hat. Modern Woodcarver hat. So, I'm excited about that. All right. Now we got some people in the chat here. Let me set up my camera. Hopefully all of you guys have been having a good weekend so far. Been a little crazy here today for us. I said it before, but we got hit with a severe rainstorm, and my garage shop got flooded out a little bit, which sucks, but no damage, just a little water. Over the years, I've gotten used to having some of those little mini floods, so I've smartened up and decided to remove everything off of the floor so nothing gets damaged. We got a few people in the chat. I like your hat logo. Thank you. I appreciate that. A friend of mine made it. King Crab Designs. Check him out. He's really good. Makes websites, graphic design work. Known him. I was talking to him yesterday. I've known him for 22 years, I think. We met a long time ago at a job when we were teenagers. All right, let me just grab a pencil or a pen here, and we'll be all set. Another person said, I like your carvings. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so what should we work on here? I got a few unfinished pieces. What do you guys think? Someone write it in the chat. What do you want to see me work on? I got a bear. I could finish this Sasquatch. Big pumpkin. This little gnome lady. This guy's done. I could finish up this guy. Work on this tiki head. And here's the beginnings of a gnome. Let's see if we have anything else. I also have this big Santa guy that's almost done. Maybe I'll bounce around and just chat about things. All right, let's start with this guy because he's almost all the way done. Where did I leave off? All right, I still need to separate his arms, his legs, give him a mouth. Let's give him like drawing a mouth here. Been seeing these types of mouths lately, and I kind of like them. But before I cut in the mouth, let's separate his legs. So for those of you in the chat and that are watching, I guess I'll talk about the new episode of the podcast. A little sneak peek for you guys since you're here tonight. I have on Monday's episode a new carver. He goes by the name Robert Tinsley. He's a spoon carver, and he specifically carves something that's called romantic love spoons. Sometimes they're Welsh, Norwegian, and he really dives in deep on the history of these wooden love spoons. I've seen them over the years. I never knew much about them, to be honest, and I didn't really know that they were a thing. Also never really paid much attention to it. I have carved a few spoons. They're not my favorite thing, just because I guess I never had the right tools for it. So it made things, when you don't have the right tools or the right kind of drive, you don't really care to explore it that much. So I did buy a hook knife at one point, but unfortunately it dulled out after only a few swipes of it. It's made by a brand that I don't particularly care for all that much. I don't want to say the brand name because I don't want to bash the company, but I was a little surprised. All right, so I'm just shaping up his feet here. Trying to be careful because it's a awkward way to hold. It's kind of hot and humid in my garage tonight. Weird day. Got all the rain and the smoke. All right, separated his legs there. I think I need a few passes on my strop. I'm in one of those carving moods where I can't seem to focus too much on one particular project. Does that happen to any of you guys? Where I just feel like I'll work on this guy for a little bit, get bored, and then I'll pick up something else and work on that for a little bit. I don't know if that's the right approach. I don't know if it's boredom or not feeling enthusiastic about what I'm working on. But sometimes when you get a piece so close to the finish stage, like this guy, it kind of bugs you that it's not done. We got a comment asking how long I have been carving. I've been carving on and off over the years for maybe 10 years or so. I haven't really gotten into it heavily until about 7 years ago. But over the years, I've done some form of woodworking or some type of carving, not necessarily whittling. I kind of started out doing relief style stuff. And then over the years, I just kind of shifted more towards this style of carving. I am definitely no expert. I think I'm okay, but I don't think I'm amazing at it. Got some waves in there from Mark. Hey Mark, Mark D. Maker. I like the name. All right. Shape these arms a little bit. Give it an inward this basswood's kind of tough. Do the same thing for his upper arm to make his elbows stick out. I don't really know what these live videos are that I'm doing. And they're not really tutorials. I don't really want them to be tutorials. Just kind of want them to be more of a watch me carve and hang out kind of thing. Ask me questions about the podcast. You know, kind of explain things as I go along. But I don't necessarily want it to be a tutorial. For that, I'll just make a tutorial video. But so yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest, with these lives. I just hope people like them, and they're kind of fun for me to do. Just man, this piece of basswood is really not much fun to work with. I don't know if you can hear it, but I really have to force it hard to make a cut, and my knife is pretty sharp right now. You can see on this other piece of basswood here, like it cuts end grain like butter on this one. All right, let's separate his arms here. Being asked what type of knife is that, I am working with a Helvey. I think it's an inch and 3/4, inch and a half at the very least. I really like my Helvey knife. I haven't found another knife that can compare to it. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other good knives out there. I really like my Badger State blade. I have another knife from a independent knife maker called Ash and Axe out of the UK. I like that knife, but there's something about the Helvey that just, I don't know, other knives can't touch. And I always wondered that when I would watch these videos, because everyone would say, Helvey, oh, I'm working Helvey, and the knife didn't look any different to me. So for a long time, I was like, what's so special about Helvey? I was like, I don't know, it doesn't look really different. And then I got my hands on 2 of them, and yeah, it was immediate. I understood. It was like eye-opening. So if you guys have a Helvey, let me know what you think. Do other knives compare? Am I strictly a knife carver, or do I use other tools? I absolutely use other tools. I use palm gouges. I have larger bench gouges, or, you know, the full-sized ones. Here are my file palm gouges that I absolutely love. I also have some flex cut palm gouges. I do have a Dremel, which I have used on some things. Usually it's hardwood, and I'm using it to rough out some sort of shape, but I don't reach for that very often. Love my Helvy, but I'd like a detail knife. How come? Why would you like a detail knife? You know, Doug Linker is, in many of his videos, he's always talked about using one knife, and I can understand why. The very tip of your knife is essentially a detail knife. So if you kind of choke up on it, you can definitely get some good detail. But I do have a couple of 1¼ inch flex cut detail knives, but one of my favorites, where I'm not sure where it is, I think it's right here, but one of my favorite flex cut knives is a really tiny detail knife. I got it somewhere here. Here it is. This little mini detail knife. I love this thing for doing these small details. It cuts in really deep, really easily. It's a thinner type blade. This was one of my first flex cut knives, actually. It came in a set of 3. It had, I believe it had a detail knife, an 1¼ inch detail knife. It had a rough out knife, and it had this little detailer, and I always reached for this one. And it is really great, as you can see, like, and it's not it's not sharp right now. It's kind of sharp, but so I do see the need for wanting a detail knife. Oftentimes when I'm carving, I'm never usually carving in my shop space. I like to carve outside or on my lunch break at work or something like that at the park. And I never want to carry a lot of knives with me, so I usually stick to one knife to bring with me. Usually it's my I have a flex cut carving jack, you know, the multi-tooled one, and I just use one knife, so I like to stick to one knife when I can. But when I'm in my shop space and I have access to all these really nice tools, I use them. An OCCT detail. I really want to get an OCCT knife. I also want to get a deep holler. There's a lot of knives I want to get. Beckwith Forge, looks like he makes really cool knives. There's another guy on Instagram that I see, the Flatulent Retriever, I think he goes by. He looks like he makes some really cool knives. There's a bunch. Yeah, so we just carved his mouth, mustache area, and just round over. deepen these a little bit more to get that shadow line. Yeah, this detail knife is great. It's just not too sharp, so I might switch back. Mainly just brought it out to show you guys. But it is nice for doing these little like hat details, things like that. Let's see, read some comments here. I started 30 plus years with an old Murphy knife that I used for the first 25 plus years. Only started trying different knives the last few. Yeah, I could see why. Like once you get used to a particular knife or brand, you get comfortable with that and you want to stick with it. I'm kind of the same way. The only reason I ever end up switching is because I usually get lazy about sharpening. And it's easy to just grab a new knife instead of sharpen or strop in the moment because you want to keep carving. But the other reason why I like getting new knives is because, like many others, I'm a bit of a tool junkie and I like to get my tool fix. All right. I think I may back off working on this guy for right now. The wood is pretty hard to work with, and like I said, I'm in the mood to kind of bounce around a little bit. But he's pretty much done. I mean, there's plenty more I can do. Just don't really feel like it. Maybe we'll give him a shirt. Sharp is definitely key. You need sharp knives. It says spray it with water to soften. I could do that. Yeah, I don't know why I'm not, but I do have a spray bottle somewhere down here. I hope the rest of the batch of wood I got isn't this tough. I bought I don't know, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, like 10 strips of this 2-inch by 2-inch by 24-inch lengths. So I hope all of it's not this tough. Otherwise, it'd be pretty frustrating. Yeah, I've had some luck with spraying with water. But it doesn't. I think I've heard you can mix it, water and either denatured alcohol. I think like a little solution. And there's something about how the water helps penetrate the wood and the denatured alcohol helps prevent it from doing something. I don't know. something like that. You could really hear it, or I can at least, how tough this is. And I have some pretty strong grip strength for this. Just going to remove all these saw marks coming off the bandsaw. Started buying all your basswood from Heineke. Not been disappointed. I've heard a lot of great things about Heineke. My next batch is definitely going to be from them, just because everyone has been recommending them. So I look forward to when I place another basswood order. All right, this guy is done. Usually I add details to these guys, like little, pant folds, like that. I don't know if I want to do a ton of that right now. Yeah, getting a hard piece of wood is definitely not an enjoyable thing. It makes you want to stop, and you have to strop your knife more often. You end up fighting the piece than actually sitting down and enjoying it, and your hands start to hurt. That's why I don't really want to add all these details to this guy, just because it feels like I'm battling. So I'm gonna call this guy done, pretty much. Last thing I'm gonna do is just round over his hat so there's no sharp edge. And I just see a couple of saw marks that need to go. And I'm gonna just do one more little detail here. Create a shadow line for where his eyes would be. Little triangle notch. And there. Finish up this guy. All right, he's done. What should we work on next? I really like working on these gnomes. These little gnomes and hobos or whatever. They're kind of my go-to. I kind of always carve them whenever I don't know what else to work on. And I use them as like a way to kind of just recenter my brain, I guess, when I bounce in between other carvings. Like if I do something like this Santa and I just kind of want to work on something easy, I'll go back to a gnome. I was working on this guy a while ago, but I didn't know where I was going with him, so I was just kind of experimenting. I gave him these ears and the mouth and the nose, little feet. I didn't know if I should give him arms. Then I wasn't sure what I should do with his head, if I give him a hat or hair. So I still don't know what to do with him. to this bear. Mix it up. And to answer the question from earlier, do I use other tools? Which I answered already, yes I do, but I'm gonna switch now to some other tools for the bear. You're a Santa carver, but been stepping out of your comfort zone. Today was Uncle Sam. Oh, that's really cool. I'd love to see that. I like carving Santas. Wow, is this wood hard too? I think so. I like carving Santas, but yeah, I don't know. They get boring for me after a while. I really like carving this style Santa. I know a lot of people do the ornament style, like on the corner Santas, but I don't love on the corner style carvings. I never know what to do with them other than put like a string on them and hang them as an ornament, maybe a magnet, but I find that I can't really sell them if I do a pop-up event. So on this guy, I'm just trying to refine the overall shape of the bear. I really like carving bears, and I want to do more of them, but I really struggle with the front legs and like the snout area. And one thing when it comes to these like animal sculptures, I think sanding them looks a lot better than leaving the facets from the gouges and the knives. But sanding is its own time-consuming project, which I don't usually have the time for these days. Yeah, Doug definitely has a great tutorial on the bear. And I've carved many of his style bears. But he does a lot of cartoony style, which I love. But when I do these types of bears, I want a more realistic bear face. It's always good to have reference to work off. Yes, it is, definitely. I usually like to have more reference photos. I usually have them on my phone, which I can't right now because I'm recording. But yeah, I'll have some images of a bear pulled up, or a reference of an older carving that I did, or sometimes I even just go on Instagram and look up someone I've seen do it better, and I just kind of see the shape of theirs. One really awesome bear carver, he actually doesn't carve wood, he carves stone, is Andrew Gable, I think it is. Gable? And he's an awesome wildlife carver, and he specializes in stone bears. And I love his work. I actually met with him, spoke to him, so you guys will see him on an episode of the podcast pretty soon. I think in a few weeks. Really great guy. Awesome artist. And there's another stone bear carver that I really like on Instagram. I think he just goes by Stone Bear online, or Stone Bears. He does these really chubby looking kind of fat bears that I love. They have all these wrinkles and folds and all the, where their paws meet, and I just think it's a really cool look. We got a question. What made you want to do the podcast? I don't know really. A few things. I really love carving. I love the community of carving. And I've made several really great friends from it. And I enjoyed talking to them so much about carving and, some other life things that are going on, that I just kind of wanted to meet more carvers, with like-minded attitudes, I guess, or interests. And I don't know, I'm the kind of person where sometimes I'll just get an idea in my head and I get really excited about it, and I just say, screw it, I'm gonna just go for it. And that's kind of what I did. And I do have another friend with a podcast. It's called Workshop Therapy. It's hosted by Andrew Hatch, and it revolves around the mental health in the maker community. So I was kind of picking his brain a little bit about what it's like to run a podcast, what kind of work goes into it, and he gave me a lot of really cool feedback and advice and guidance. So yeah, another reason I wanted to do it was because I noticed a common theme in woodcarving, the woodcarving community, is even though there's tons and tons of events out there and clubs, a lot of the woodcarvers out there are pretty isolated, and they don't have a place to go for club meetings and hangouts, and they don't have the means to get to one of these carving events, like the Lancaster or the Charlotte show or the Rocky Mountain show. You need funding, and you need time off from work, and you can't always just pick up and travel every time there's an event. So I kind of wanted to create a space for those of us who, one, can't afford to do it or don't have the time or the resources to do it. So it's a little bit of a combination of things. I wanted to just try it. I wanted to, I guess kind of bring together the wood carving community a little bit more, as well as my own selfish reasons of, wanting to make some more wood carving friends. And I have to say, since I've started it, I've definitely made a great amount of connections and some really great friends who I probably wouldn't, not that I wouldn't have had any contact with them, but I probably never would have talked to them in any real depth or meaning like I have been. You know, for those of you who have been following the show from day one, or you'll all know that Cody Bonham from Block and Knife has been a good friend of mine for many years now, which is why he's on the first guest episode. Cody's someone I talk to regularly, pretty much daily, and he's a great friend, great carver. But since I've done the show, Tom Parr has been a really amazing friend. I've gotten to know him and talk to him all the time now. So I'm definitely very fortunate to have made some really cool, talented friends. I think I need to power strop my knife. Hold on one second. All right. Again, feeling lazy about using the old manual stropping method. Let's see, what do I want to do with this guy? Yeah, I would love to go to one of these shows as well. They look like so much fun. And I guess especially now more than ever, since I've been talking to all these people, it would be nice to kind of actually meet them in person and see their work in person. I would definitely buy a ton of stuff I probably don't need at these shows. Definitely pick up a few more Helvey knives, that's for sure. Pick up a few more Badger State blades. Maybe some roughouts. It'd also be nice to just get some pictures with some of you guys. I actually might switch again. I'm not really feeling working on this bear. We'll see. Is there anyone you guys want to see on the podcast that you are curious to hear about more of? I know the obvious one is Doug. Everyone's gonna say Doug. Let's try to be a little bit more creative and think of some other people. Love Doug. Great dude. Awesome carver. I know a popular answer to that question is any of the CCA guys. I've had several people tell me they're mainly interested in CCA carvers, which is cool. I like the CCA guys. I have interviewed quite a few of them already. There was Blake. I had Blake Lunsford. I spoke with Pat Coffey. Who else? There's at least 3 or 4 of them. Kind of blanking on who I had on the show at this point. I hit 21 episodes so far. 22 is coming up. I'll give you guys a little bit of some inside scoop of the podcast. I actually have about 33 episodes recorded at this point. Maybe a little more, 30, 32, 35, around there. And I keep interviewing more people every week. So I have a healthy backlog of guests. Now you notice I switched again. Now I'm working on this pumpkin that I'm just roughing out. I love carving these pumpkins. And to me, the main inspiration of these pumpkins, I'm sure many of you are well aware of, is Tony. He goes by Tony.carvings on Instagram, or Tony's Carvings. He is definitely the pumpkin king when it comes to carving these. He also carves a really awesome looking Santa. But I love his pumpkins, and I totally ripped them off and stole his designs, I guess. Not really his designs, but you know, that type of looking pumpkin. I always give him credit when I post a picture of the pumpkin that I carve. In fact, I just saw one today that he carved. It was, I really liked it. It was a vampire style pumpkin. MRH Woodworking. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Thanks for joining. Bruce Ankeny lives an hour or so from you. That's really cool. You meet up with him at all? I spoke to him briefly on where did I speak to him? Oh, the International Association of Woodcarvers, Blake Lunsford's show, which is a really great show if you haven't checked it out. He usually does it every weekend on Saturdays. I know during the summer it's like a summer schedule. The next one, I believe, is next Saturday with another fellow New Yorker like myself. Joe Savarese will be on demonstrating. And next month in August, you tune in and I'll be on talking about my journey, I guess. How I got into carving. I guess they'll ask me some questions. They'll ask me about the podcast, stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to be doing a demonstration, but I think I'm just going to be showing off my carvings and just talking about what I do. You met him once at a carving club meeting many years ago. Yeah, he definitely does seem like a fun guy. I would love to have him on the podcast if I can get him. I think he's also a CCA member, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what I'm doing tonight, carving wise, guys. I know I'm bouncing around, I'm not explaining anything, but just kind of hanging out and having fun. Probably won't go on too much longer because it's hot and humid down here. It's getting pretty late. You know, speaking of Badger State blades, the one thing I want to get from them is their eraser tool, because this is a lot of material. This is a 3" by 3" block by maybe 4 inches. There's a lot of material to remove. It's awkward to hold with my knife. I guess I could do it, but it's a lot of pressure on my hands. Oh, almost dropped my gouge. And then this gouge is nice, and I like it, but it's not big enough. So I feel like the eraser tool would be helpful. I did attempt to make my own eraser tool. I had this 1.5" chisel, and it didn't have a handle on it, or it had a broken handle. So I hammered off the broken plastic handle. I shaped, you know, the end of it from being square to having this bullnosey shape. And then I turned this ash handle on my lathe and just popped it on. It's actually not even glued in. It's kind of like a friction fit. So I tried using this, but it's insanely heavy. It's a big piece of steel. And then the other thing that I didn't account for is I like to hold the gouge like this, and these wings really dig in on my hand. So when I'm pressing in, they really kind of just bug me and bother me after a while. So I should probably leave my tools to the experts and get a Badger State eraser tool. You know, clamping is also another real big issue. I do have a Veritas carver's vise that I like to use, but then that requires me to be stuck in a dedicated spot when I carve. And like I said, I like to carve outside. I like to roam around a little bit. Alright, I'm getting bored of this pumpkin now too. Yeah, this is a weird live episode for you guys. Usually I'm a little bit more put together than this, but more bouncing around. Let's switch over to Sasquatch here. Now this Sasquatch is inspired by Noah Head. He was the second guest episode of the podcast. And I have yet to find someone who's more passionate about Sasquatches than Noah is. And he is definitely really great at carving them. And I am lucky enough to own one of his carvings. And it is the coolest, one of the coolest carvings I have. Noah was nice enough to send me this Sasquatch carving, and I just love it. I don't know if you could tell from the video, but he's got this cool like fur texture. The fact that I think he carved the fish. I gotta ask him. I think it's part of the actual block. They're not added on after the fact. I'm not too sure. I have to ask him about that. But he painted the fish in this metallic-y paint color, so it gives it that really cool looking shine. And I just love those eyes. Like he used like a sparkly silver for the eyes, so they glow. But yeah, such a cool dynamic shape, design. Really great carver, Noah is. And such a great guy. And that reminds me, I have to send him something. I promised I would send him something a couple of months ago, and life has just been hectic, and I haven't been able to send that out. So I'm sorry, Noah. It is coming. I didn't forget about you, if you're watching. Maybe I'll send him 2 things to make up for the fact that I forgot. Oh yeah, I was on his arms here. That's what I was doing. This is where this little detail knife comes in handy. Maybe it's time I sharpen this back up and use it again. Forgot how much I enjoy using this thing. I wonder if he should have a big smile. Cut in his eyes here. I do like the detail knife. Thanks for reminding me about it. I think one of the main reasons I stopped using it was because a long time ago, and this happens to me quite a bit, is I dropped my knife on my concrete floor, and I think I took a chunk out of the tip, and I had to regrind it and reprofile it. And at the time, I wasn't too great at fixing my damaged knives, so I've gotten a lot better at it over the years. Still not amazing at it, but I can definitely get them sharp again. I definitely agree. All these knives do have a purpose. Every tool has a job that will make your life a lot easier if you have the right tool and if it's properly maintained. I would love to get my hands on a Helvey detail knife or a Badger State detail knife or some other premium detail knife. Let's give him some teeth here. For those of you that are watching right now, which has been your favorite episode of the podcast? I don't think I can pick a favorite. I've enjoyed my time with every single one of the guests. I've learned something from each and every one of them. I do plan on doing more live sessions where I carve in the style of each particular guest. I did one already where I carved a ghost similar to Cody style. I do want to do another one where I carve a Sasquatch, which I guess I'm kind of doing now, but from actual start to finish, like a tutorial style. And in each one of those live sessions that I do where I carve in the style of the guest, I'll talk about what I admire about that particular guest. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the behind the scenes aspect of the podcast, like what it was like recording with them, if we had any technical issues, which is almost every single episode. I have technical issues. So I think it's just like a fun little thing to do. And I have been inspired by each and every one of these guest carvers. And if any of you follow me on Instagram, if you pay close enough attention to what I post, it might give you a tip or an idea of who's coming up in future episodes. Like I said, I do have a delay of about 2 to 3 months, but you will notice that usually after I speak to a particular guest, I end up carving something very similar to their style. So if I meet with a caricature style carver, you'll see a caricature style carving from me get posted. If I meet with, like I met with Alec Lacasse, and I actually met with him a couple of months ago before his episode released. But if you notice on my Instagram, a couple of months ago, I started posting some realism stuff. So that's a fun little Easter egg for you guys if you want to figure out who's to come. the flatulent retriever has sales. Yes, he does have sales. I actually spoke to him, and I do plan on having him on for an episode. We just haven't been able to get our timelines to match up, but he is someone I have asked, and hopefully we can lock something in at some point. So I would like to get one of his knives. They look really cool. And then someone else asked, have I had Jerry on? Jerry McNulty? You talking about? The Whistling Whittler? If it is him, yes, I have had him on. He was, I don't know, 3-4 episodes ago. He's a really talented carver too, and man, is he is like easily probably one of the most, like he probably carves more than anybody. He carves like all day nonstop pretty much, and he thinks about carving nonstop all day. He designs things throughout the day, and he like goes home on his lunch break and he draws it out or roughs it out, and then he comes home from work and he details it, and he's a machine, man. Yeah, it was really great getting to talk to Jerry, if that's the Jerry you're talking about. One of the things I really like about the podcast is not only do I learn about each particular carver's style and how they got into it and what they love about carving and art and all that, but I learn some other things about the person other than the fact they are into carving. Like Jerry is a musician. He plays the guitar. He's passionate about music, and the other thing I thought was really cool is that he is really into cactuses. He belongs to, like, I think a club, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think like the preservation of cactuses and all that. And so I thought that's really cool, because there's more to us than just carving. We all have different hobbies and interests, and again, that's another reason why I did the podcast, is to learn about everybody, kind of what makes them tick, you know. I have tons of hobbies and other interests. Jerry is definitely good. Very nice guy. Definitely glad to have met him and have spoken to him. Alright, haven't been explaining what I'm doing here, but I carved in his teeth. Gave him a little happy grin there. I guess I'm a dentist now. And then just kind of shaping up the rest of them. When I'm in this kind of mind state where I don't really know what to do, bouncing around carvings, I feel like I'm not very productive on what I'm carving. Because I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I'm just winging it. So I feel like I'm not really getting anywhere. I don't have I like to have a bit of a systematic approach when I'm carving. Like, okay, I'm gonna carve his nose, and then his face, and then his feet, and his arms, and just kind of take it step by step. But when I'm bouncing around, I just feel kind of lost. And then I feel like because I'm bouncing around so much, I feel like I'm not getting anything done, or I'm taking too long. So I feel like I'm just wasting my time, I guess. Then I end up not liking the piece as much. But that's how you get better at things, right? They say do things even when you don't want to do them. Cut in his cheeks a little bit more there. Is that his cheeks? I guess not, his smile lines. Nice display of nice skills. Oh, thank you. Am I doing anything unique? I don't think I am. Hopefully I'm not doing anything reckless looking. The other thing I'm notorious of not doing is wearing gloves or finger tape, even though I do recommend everyone should. Let's give this guy just 3 fingers because I'm feeling lazy. The other thing I need to work on is carving hands. Even drawing hands, I'm not great at drawing hands either. I know hands are a really big thing. Trips a lot of people up. Another thing I'm also thinking about too is a better camera setup. I'm not sure if this top-down view is the best situation. I was watching some videos by Doug and some other creators, and it's got me thinking, what kind of camera angle are they using and how do they actually film it? Because like you guys are seeing this, but right above it here is the camera, and right behind that is my face. So my phone blocks half of my view, so I'm in a very like awkward, uncomfortable carving position. Which is why when I am doing these videos, you'll notice the carving will end up here after a while. And it's because this is where, to me, it's in my direct line of sight, and I'm just kind of comfortable. So right now, like my arms are kind of extended, and if I get any closer, like my body any closer, and then I'm fully above the camera, and I can't carve looking at the camera or looking through the camera. I have to carve looking at the actual piece and my knife. So these are things that I guess when you're watching the videos, you don't really pay attention to because you're just more interested in the actual carving. So let's see, what do I want to do with his toes here? got here, I just have a little veiner. Is that a little bit of rust in there? You separate his feet. I appreciate the few of you that stuck around watching this tonight. These live sessions are definitely a lot easier when there's people in the chat throwing questions, and otherwise it's kind of just awkward talking to yourself. Also, I hope it's not too disappointing that I'm not actually carving anything of substance here or explaining anything. I think one of the main reasons people watch this is to hear about how things are being carved, but maybe I'm wrong. Thanks for stopping in the chat. I appreciate it. Marilyn. See you in the next one. All right. I don't think I'm going to continue much longer here. Maybe another 5 minutes, but I think he's coming along here. Got his feet. Separate his toes here. It is getting pretty hot down here for me. So I think I'm gonna just finish up these toes, chat to you for another minute or two. And then probably sign off. All right. I think he looks pretty cool. Kind of creepy looking. But yeah. Sometimes it's nice just working on some of these half-finished projects. As you can tell, I got so many of them. This is only not even a handful of what I have. I have dozens and dozens more that I need to work on. I'll show you real quick. My bucket full of rejects. All right, guys. I think that'll be it for tonight. I appreciate you guys stopping in and hanging out with me while I carve and just hearing me ramble on about things. Yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying the podcast and everything I'm doing. If there's anything you want to see, let me know, or any person you want to see. I'd love to know some suggestions. Particularly, I'm looking for relief style carvers. Um, what else? There was several others. Some other realism, but yeah, I'm looking for pretty much everything. So if there's someone you want to see, let me know. Um, and or if you're interested yourself in coming on, let me know. I'm happy to have on all types of guests and see where the podcast goes. So, all right, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys in the next live whenever I decide to do it. And if not, check out the next episode on Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This episode will be with Robert Tinsley, a Welsh spoon carver. So, see you in the next one.